Hello, John.
Hello, Oliver.
Today we're going to talk about the Russian poisoning saga that's been ongoing in the media. Jeremy Corbyn says that Boris Johnson has egg on his face. Boris Johnson said he was sure that Russia was behind it, but Portland Lab, which employs 3,000 scientists in the UK, have said they can't actually identify where the nerve agent came from.
Right. Now, the first thing about this is that this Russian spy living in Salisbury and his daughter, who visited him from Russia kind of recently, were discovered in a park bench unconscious. The public noticed what was the position and rang the police, and a police sergeant was the first on the scene, and he called an ambulance for these people, and so they were taken to hospital. It turned out that they were suffering from a nerve gas kind of substance that had them unconscious, and so they've been in intensive care ever since in a hospital in Salisbury, and apparently now at this point making some kind of a recovery, we're told. Now, the first thing about it, aside from the Boris Johnson, Minister for Foreign Affairs in the Conservative government, before that the Prime Minister Theresa May made a statement in the House of Commons and blamed the Russians for this, that their investigation showed that it was a nerve agent that according to them only come from Russia, was known to the Russians, that it wasn't from any other country. And she proceeded to look for an explanation from the Russians, which they denied that they were responsible for this. And she then proceeded to expel 21 Russian diplomats from London. Other countries followed suit, including the US under President Trump expelled 60 Russians, including a diplomatic mission that was in, or a mission that was in Seattle. Now, the Russian diplomats in the US are restricted to within about 25 miles of wherever they're situated. That is the law there. But to expel 60 was a bit extreme. Now, other countries have also expelled Russian diplomats, including Ireland expelled one Russian diplomat, which other EU countries also expelled one. Some expelled a few more.
In turn, Russia expelled Robert Meade.
Well, in turn, Russia expelled other 21 diplomats from Britain, and likewise, I believe, from the US. Now, and they have also expelled now an Irish diplomat from Moscow, the deputy head of mission, which I presume he wouldn't be a spy. But the fact that Ireland expelled a Russian diplomat was following suit by the dictates of the EU, because the EU has supported the Britain claim that it was Russia. Now, at this stage, as you just mentioned, Boris Johnson and Mr. Coburn, the leader of the Labour Party, who was actually pro-Marxist and pro-communist in some ways, so his views are kind of always questioned. But the fact is that Russia has only recently become somewhat democratic. For years they were ruled by the communists, with the effect that a lot of Christians and Catholics couldn't practice their faith. But now this is possible, and churches have been reopened, and cathedrals and all the rest of it in Russia, and so there is the freedom and the practice of the religion. And so Russia is slowly coming into the democratic fold. So the decision about these countries to expel Russian diplomats seems to me counterproductive. You should encourage a country like Russia to embark on the democratic process and keep in touch and encourage them along those lines, because they still probably have, the citizens probably still are under the influence of the communist system which started in 1917 with the Russian Revolution. And of course it wasn't a force for good that it was purported to be. It was actually a force for quite evil, and millions of Russian citizens were killed and abused and starved in the process of that communist rule. So it behoves the West not to isolate Russia the way they have done.
And you believe they are isolating? Do you think they have an agenda, the West?
Oh, they certainly have, and it appears the only one liable to gain from this is the arms industry. And it has been reported recently that Poland, which is a Catholic and a democratic country, having recently escaped from the communist rule as a result of the Solidarity Revolution, when Pope John Paul, who was a Polish Pope, John Paul II was a Polish citizen and was instrumental in helping the Polish people to gain their independence from the communist influence and rule. So that country now has purchased $3.5 billion worth of arms from the US. So that's an example of this arms industry liable to gain, and that's not conducive to sort of a peaceful world. Don't isolate Russia, and I think Russia now has claimed that they're trying to bring down the Iron Curtain or to isolate Russia the way they did during the Cold War in that area. So it seems very short-sighted in my view.
What advice would you give to our Taoiseach Leo Varadkar? He says that Ireland has no quarrel with Russia and that it was an act of solidarity with the UK. That's why he expelled one.
Well, you see, the fact of the matter is that it is not clear now from the evidence in the UK that it was Russia responsible. It's not clear. They have a nerve agent. I won't call it a factory, but a condominium or a big headquarters not too far from Salisbury, in which apparently thousands of scientists are employed and nerve agents that have been doing this since 1939 up to 1989 and producing and have a stockpile of nerve agents. Now, this is such a lethal system that they have denied this laboratory that they actually can pinpoint as to where this come from. So they've caused confusion, and so the categorical statement by the British government, including their Foreign Secretary and Prime Minister, Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, they've been too quick to point a finger at Russia, and if it turns out that they're mistaken, the harm that they've done is going to be is going to cause a lot of confusion in the world with citizens. It is a very dangerous path that they embarked on, and I thought a bit prematurely.
Okay, so thank you very much, John Malone.
I thank you very much, Oliver.